Hello there. In this short module is about memorization. Now I have three students. I have students that are memorizers, that would be me. I also have students that are outliners, ones that can have bullet points and then go off the top of their head. And then I also have students that are improvisers, those that can improv because they know their topic so well. Sometimes that would be me also. And these are three students, different students that thrive in their own way. But I want to talk about the value of memorization. Some people argue against it because then they say it will sound canned. And that's true if you don't practice it enough and get it to a point where you make it sound natural. And what's effective is, if you notice in your short talk you'll be doing for your school, we crafted it pretty well. And the wording is really nicely placed. The emphasis, the pausing, the inflections, coloring the words, all these different things to make your talk clear, make it much more valuable. Once again, we talked about the two diamonds in the same store, same size. One is more valuable than the other. It's because of clarity. So I want to give just several techniques on memorization, all right? The first one is repetition. I would say it is the hardest, but the most secure. So in other words, you will repeat the first line, memorize the first line, and then repeat it several times, and then you'll move on to the next line. Memorize that line. Then you'll repeat both lines, and you'll do this on down the full passage or full monologue. I would say that if it's more than 7 or 8 sentences, you may want to break them up, maybe even break up 4, and then just master that small chunk, and then move on to the next chunk with the same process. The thing about this, though, that I've realized is that it's very difficult to memorize at a coffee shop drinking coffee. It's very difficult to memorize on your sofa. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult because it's just your mind working with the repetition. If you're going to do repetition, I would suggest that you do it on your feet, walking around until you get a little tired, and then sit down if you're tired and begin to work on it calmly, breathing, but you'll be in a rhythm that'll help that repetition pay off for you as it relates to the speech that you're making. So in repetition, you want to say the first line till you memorize it, then say the second line, memorize that, then go back and do the first and second line, and repeat that process for one small passage, maybe let's just say 6 lines, and you master those 6 lines, then you move on to the next passage and memorize that. And it's better to do it on your feet than sitting, having coffee, or watching TV, or eating chips, all right? The next way is less secure, but more effective. It's one thing that we do as actors, we call it dropping in. With this, what you do, once again, you do it on your feet, is the best way to do it. You choose, let's say 2 or 3 sentences. You read the sentences 3 or 4 times. Then you put it down. Then you get it in your gut and you just say it. Now what will happen is you will find that you paraphrase. Fine. All you do is go back, see where you made some mistakes, correct it, put the script down, and once again, say it. And you may have to do it a couple of times, but what's great about this, you will memorize more, faster, and you'll be memorizing from your gut as opposed from your mind. And when it's from your gut, it's more powerful because when you're in front of people, it's a different experience than when you're in your room pacing or sitting because you have so many other distractions depending on where you are. And if it's not in your gut, you may very well lose those lines. It's like when we're acting, if we are not memorized in our deeper self, as we were practicing, when we get in front of the other scene partner, we haven't seen their face, we haven't heard their voice, it can throw you off immediately. I did a movie with an actor that you may not know, but she is famous, Kate Beckinsale, and I had my lines prepared, but when it was time to rehearse, and she said her first line, all of my lines went out the window. And it was because I hadn't gotten it into my gut yet. But then we went back and did it again, and it was fine. So it's important to do that. So there's dropping in, there's repetition, and then lastly, it's get to know the story, the full story of what you're talking about. Get to know the full story of what you're talking about. What does that mean? What you want to do is, once you have your text written, or if you're memorizing a different text, you want to read through it about 10 times, like it's a storybook, so that you get an idea of the events that's happening in your talk. And all the nuances and all the details and the things you want to convey, and you keep reading it again and again and again. What will happen is when you start to work on it and memorize, a lot of those words will come to you just based on you remembering the story. This is one of the best ways as actors that we memorize. We get the story first. We work through the dialogue and the lines first. We read it 10, 20, 30 times first, so that by the time we're ready to memorize, it's coming to us because we're not just invested in the words, but we're invested in the story. It is the fastest, most sure way to memorize. As I say, it's the better way to get it into your gut. So why am I telling you these three? Well, because quite frankly, the easiest and most secure way, well, I shouldn't say the easiest, really the hardest, but the simplest maybe and most secure way is through repetition, and it does work. It's just you're working from your mind more so, and it's difficult to get it into your body. It'll take longer to get it that way. And so that may work better for you for right now. The other way is a little more secure, but it's more effective. And you may want to try it because what you may find is that that'll work for you better, where you do dropping in, where you pick it up, you read it several times, you put it down, you recite it, you're going to paraphrase probably a little bit. And sometimes you'll have it, by the way. And I think you remember that from the class. Sometimes you have it. But you'll pick it up, correct it, and go back and do it. But the best way that I want to suggest to you is get the story of what's being said, read through it 10, 20 times, then come to it, and the words will come to you faster just because you're involved and you understand what's happening in the story.